My name is Christopher Rivera. I've lived in historic Filipino town since 1999, so that's about 10 years. I'm 18 years old and I go to school for the visual arts and humanities. This is the building I live in. The building itself consists of apartments all the way in top and then businesses all the way in the bottom. This apartment is on Glendale Boulevard and Court Street in historic Filipino town. Since I've lived here, which was 1999 when I moved here with my mother, because she wanted to find a cheaper apartment. The market has been here since I lived here, or prior to that, before that. And this pet store has always been there since I can remember. But businesses all the way in the end, like the 98-cent store, they've changed throughout the years. Before, when I first moved here, there was a salon there with this mother and her little daughter. They used to live there, and then they also converted it into a salon. There's also this kind of loft-looking, artistic, I don't know what it is. But before that, it was just a bicycle shop where a bunch of new artists or hipsters from the neighborhood would come and get their bicycles fixed. Now I'm assuming there's just this guy who lives there who I guess he's an artist maybe, and just uses that space to paint whatever he does. This is my favorite location. It's the corner of Temple and Glendale Boulevard. I think it's my favorite location because it's pretty much the intersection the border between Echo Park and historic Filipino town. Echo Park is where I grew up for I don't know, when I was a little kid, and then I moved to historic Filipino town, and that's where I grew up when I was a teen. So I feel like this intersection is pretty prominent to transportation in Los Angeles because you can take the bus, which is what I usually do, the 10 to West Hollywood, to Melrose where I go shopping, or I can take the dash to MacArthur Park, or I can cross the street and I can take the bus to downtown, or I can even take the dash to Echo Park, or I can do anything. I can take the freeway, which is right there, to Hollywood. I can pretty much go anywhere I want. I usually find myself waiting a long time for the bus because the 10 takes forever. This is the bus stop I'm usually with my friend. Somehow we just end up having really deep conversations about life, about our future, about what we want to do career-wise, about our self-consciousness, whatever it is. This is where we talk about it. There's something about this location that just makes us feel really comfortable. This location is pretty random. It shows the diversity of historic Filipino town. Right here you have tennis courts, which is the most random thing you can have in the intersection. Across the street you have a mechanic place where they fix cars. To the other side they have a car wash, and to that corner they have a gas station. So you pretty much have random things in this intersection, which pretty much expresses historic Filipino town. It's not just Filipino people, it's Latinos, whites, blacks, everything. This place is diverse. So this is why this corner is my favorite intersection. Considering how I just moved from Echo Park to here, to historic Filipino town, which is a block away, I never really pictured historic Filipino town to be called historic Filipino town. I pretty much found out about it I would say a year ago, and it was pretty surprising to me because Echo Park is just known to be, well, for the past 10 years it's been known to be Latino based, and I'm Latino, I'm Guatemalan. So when I moved here, I thought it was Echo Park. I just pretty much expected Latino people to live here, and Central Americans and everything. So when I found out that it was called historic Filipino town, it surprised me because you really don't see any Filipinos here unless you go down Temple or down Beverly. Then you see more Filipino families living there and Filipino businesses. Lately, I've started to see a lot of white people, Caucasians, a lot of hipsters or artists, a lot of I don't know, everything. Like people have just started to move here. Like it's become very diverse. When I hear the term historic Filipino town, it honestly means nothing to me. I mean, it means historic to me because, you know, it's not really a Filipino town anymore. It's diverse town, I guess, because there's so many people here. There's so many people packed into like this 2-mile neighborhood that you can't really classify it as Filipino or as Latino or as anything. It's just, you know, it's vague. It's LA.
To unwind myself, I go to PWC, chatting for a few hours like that, and I eat in Guda or in Nay Gloria, in Bahay Kubo, where the Filipino foods are there. It seems I'm starving from from the 5 days or the 2 days. I'm so starving, so I have to. Oh, where's the our native food that we used to eat? So after that, I go to the cathedral, at least ask guidance from the Lord for strength and, that you'll be safe for the whole week, like that. So, and after that, go with some other friends. And if they ask me to go with them for parties, then I'll go with them, like that. So it seems you're refreshing from the hard work.
I lived here in historic Filipino town. We moved out of the boarding house in Bunker Hill and we moved to Burlington and Temple and lived there for the first 5 years. At the time, it was not thought of as Filipino town. There were Filipinos living here, but there were also people from all over the world. I thought it was a great neighborhood because there were so many textures and colors and accents. There were 3 or 4 Jewish families and Mexicans and even some Irish, poor Irish. One of them was Richard Thornton's dad. Richard Thornton went to Our Lady of Loretto Grammar School with me. And his father was a pro boxer. And he taught me a very good left-right combination, which I used here in historic Filipino town. There was even a Japanese family, and this was during the war. They were living there. There were the Chinese and Koreans who had the grocery stores on Temple Street, on probably Bonnie Bray, that would be. They took up the whole, all 4 corners had grocery stores. They had adding machines, and I thought that was just a miracle of technology. They were pounding him out, and he'd say, "That is always correct. The answer is always correct." And sometimes I would argue with him because we didn't have a lot of money, and he'd say, "It's always correct." And I had to believe him. It was there in black and white. There were a lot of colored people at that time. They were called colored people from New Orleans. There was a man who was, I called Uncle Pops, who was instrumental in the starting of the sleeping car porters union with Pacific, I think it was Pacific Railroad. Oddly enough, or ironically enough, they were also instrumental in getting the Asian Exclusion Acts passed so that Filipinos would not take their jobs. And it wasn't animosity, it was survival. I've written quite a lot about Uncle Pops and Aunt Rose. She was a quadroon, and that is a person who only is a quarter colored. And I'm saying colored this whole time because we never said black. They would have been insulted. She was a big woman, and she was very, very white looking, and she could cook. And I loved to be around her. She smelled good all the time. She smelled like baking, you know. It seems to me it was a pretty friendly place. Anybody's house you went into, you sat down and ate. Didn't matter if you just finished eating. And you always did that. Seems like people laughed a lot and cried a lot. There's a lot going on. It was, you knew you were alive.
My name is Gerald Gubaton, and I'm a Filipino American. I'm proud to be a Filipino American. Historic Filipino town, next exit. So some people think when they see a freeway sign, what is that? And then when they get off the freeway at Alvarado Street and turn on Temple Street, they say probably, where is it? What is the what? The sign to me represents many years of advocacy and organizing by some members of the community who have always felt the community ought to have some level of recognition, if you will, from American mainstream society. And so the designation of a geographic historic Filipino town is very meaningful to community members who have sought out recognition, acknowledgement. And perhaps this is something that many immigrant groups who come to America, when they come here, seek out. Historic Filipino town, to me, is more than a freeway sign. It is embodied in the lives of many Filipinos who have come to America and Los Angeles. I see it as the Filipino diaspora, dating back perhaps to the turn of the century and early part of the century to modern day contemporary times. Historic Filipino town today continues to be that, what we call a port of entry. Hopefully people can connect to this historical experience, because new immigrants who come to America today must know that before them there were Filipinos who experienced hardships and struggle.